All right. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to this training on how to set goals in church, in ministry that actually move the mission forward. I'm going to give you a framework today that we've been helping churches with for a while now. And it is really, really, I mean, they're saying that it's really helping, that it is bringing some intentionality and some good best practices, but not losing the heart behind what we're trying to do in church. And that's really the goal of what I'm trying to cover today is really just to make this meaningful for you, just to teach you how to bring some goals and bring some systems and processes into what God's doing in your church. If we have not had the chance to meet, my name is Michael. This is a picture of my family from Memorial Day. We decided our kids are all in college age and working or out of the house or in college, and we claimed Memorial Day. So every Memorial Day we go to a lake. So if you are any near any lakes, I would love some lake recommendations. We've been hitting all the Great Lakes, and we're coming to the end of that. So we need some new lakes to visit. But my family and I live in Atlanta. We get to lead the team. Our team is all remote and spread out. And yeah, we just love getting to help churches and getting to do stuff like this. I've actually spent 20 years. When I looked back on the calendar, I couldn't believe that 20 years had gone by helping churches. What brought us to Atlanta in the first place is we came here to be a part of a church plant where I was pastoring and learned a lot of this stuff about how to lead a church, trial and error, not the best way to learn, but learned a lot of stuff that way. Then got involved in an organization called the Rocket Company, and we helped create Giving Rocket and Preaching Rocket, Volunteer Rocket to help churches raise money and preach better sermons and recruit volunteers, all those different things. And so that was a blast. Learned a ton there. And then started Churchville. Did that for a really long amount of time, where we had courses and training and membership and just showing up and hopefully helping pastors and staff and teams just kind of get better at running the church, because so many of us were not trained on how to do that. We were called, we are committed, we are passionate, but we just didn't have some of the training that we needed. So that was an amazing community. And then I handed that off a couple years ago to my friend Ryan, who's doing great with it. And then have now started this, Alignified. And that's what we're talking about today, is helping churches just like you set goals, communicate those goals, rally the people around those goals, and actually accomplish those goals. And I was talking to somebody this last week that I've loved obviously all these things, all these logos I'm looking at, got to do. But this is the first time for me personally, it's just me, where I feel that I am really truly helping you do not what I think you should get better at, but helping you identify what God has called your church to do and just accomplish that. And so I know that's very subtle, but for me, it's very exciting because while in past, it's like, I want you to work on this, or I think you should work on this. And here with the Lineify, we're really not saying that. We're trying to help you uncover what God has called you to do in your church to do, and all of those uniquenesses, and just actually accomplish that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is our schedule for today. We're going to talk about these three things. We're going to talk about why goals have failed, maybe failed you in the past or failed others in the past. I'm going to give you a framework that you can use. You can use this right away. Right away. You can implement it right away. And then in part three, I'll show you a way that you can make it stick, and you can make it stick on your own, but actually I will show you the tool that we have built that helps make it super easy. Even though you don't need it, I think it'll make it easy for you, but I'll do that at the very end. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. This is probably about a year ago now, but we surveyed 300 church leaders and got a ton of responses from church leaders. And 45% of the pastors that responded to this survey said, we do not have clear written goals as a church, almost half. Didn't say we were against goals. It's just say we don't have, I mean, we're just doing things, we're doing good things, but we don't have any goals. 53% said that the systems they've tried to implement those goals are not working. And then 39%, 4 out of 10, almost 4 out of 10, said even if we have goals, we don't ever talk about them. We don't talk about them in our meetings. So if any of these things sound familiar to you, I think this will be very helpful to you. If you don't have written goals, I'm going to give you a framework for how to write some things down. If you don't have a system to actually accomplish them, this will help. And then the tool that I'll show you at the end, it has a meeting component built right in it. And it essentially guarantees that you're going to talk about those goals in those meetings and actually move them forward that way. So let's jump in. I just want to talk about why goals have failed. Maybe you, definitely me, and lots of others in the past and maybe even now. And so I call this the slow fade because we've all done this, right? I'm a weird person. I love strategic planning meetings. I love 2 days, 3 days in the office, out of the office, retreats. I mean, our team now, we do quarterly planning retreats, and I love them because I love kind of closing down the normal and doing a couple days of focus work, right? They talk about working on it, on it, not just in it. And throughout my ministry and career, I've really seen these retreats. They're fun, right? I love them. And we get together and we plan and we were like, what's going to happen? Maybe we do this in January and we write some stuff down. There's a document. But then come the summer, nobody even knows where that document is anymore. Maybe it came up in a meeting and somebody's like, what do we do with the that thing we wrote when we went to the mountains and we got that cabin? Where did that go? Remember we had some stuff up on the board. Like, where is that? And we lose it. And a lot of times we think this is it's like, man, I wish our people were more committed. And it's not that they have a character problem. It's not that they have a commitment problem. It's really a system failure that the system of church is designed to actually keep you working in it, not on it. It's very hard to step back because you got Sundays and you got ministry events and you've got this stuff. And you've ever said when things slow down, have you ever said that? When things slow down, right? We're all lying to ourselves when we say that because in church, things rarely slow down and give us time to actually, implement these plans that we made. And so we mean well in January, but just kind of ministry and life takes over. And so that slow fade, it's a system problem. But let me give you some reasons these goals don't work. Most goal frameworks that I've read, and you can't see, but right off the camera over here, I have a stack of books, probably 30 books high, that are all these business books about goals and operations and all this stuff. And I read through all those when we were making this tool, and I'm like, is there stuff in here that's going to work for church? And there's good stuff in there. The problem is most of these frameworks were built for boardrooms and not churches, right? So maybe you've heard OKRs. You've heard that, right? Well, that came out of Intel. Google uses those, right? Big corporate entities, manufacturing, big businesses, where we need to say we need to have objectives and key results. What are our OKRs? And I know churches that have tried to implement that, and it just felt too heavy. And it felt too like, "This is not us, like, this doesn't work for us. What's a OKR?" Right? Your SMART goals. I mean, literally, you Google how to write church goals, just Google it, there's gonna be 50 people writing articles about when you write a church goal, it needs to be a SMART goal. Well, those came out of consulting, right? Fortune 500 consultants created SMART goals, and again, there's some truth there, but in a church, you're not just shipping units or making money or, making widgets or whatever. Like there's ministry going on. And sometimes SMART goals don't work. And then there's all this stuff that you read about strategy and, making money and HR and all that stuff. But the team you're leading, they're not motivated to like climb the ladder. They're not motivated to get to like payment rung H4, right? They're called. Hopefully you have people that are called and they want to do ministry together. So a lot of the stuff that we use is not bad. It's just not baptized. And it doesn't work in church because we have to contextualize just too much of it. And, it's like you take what's the phrase people eat the fish, throw out the bones, right? But it's like, it's almost all bones. Like, where's the fish? And it's because it's not built for that. So we need a system that's built for that. I'm going to show you something that's going to help for that. I was sharing this, and Pastor Ian, who is a co-lead pastor of his church, he goes, "Yeah, I came out of the business world, and in the business world, all this stuff he was talking about OKRs. OKRs that did work for me in the business world because the motivations are different, the management style's different, but not in the church world, right? And so he's naming this tension that we feel that you just can't take something out of the business world and just put it as is into church. It doesn't work that way. Number two is a lot of times the goals that we have, they're actually wishes, not goals. We write them down as wishes, not goals. So like here's an example. Improve our discipleship process. I mean, that's important, but that is written to be a wish, a hope, a prayer, right? You can choose a different word here. But that's a phrase. It can't be tracked. It can't be owned, right? Whose job is that? And it's hard to tell if you're actually winning. It's hard to tell if this is going somewhere, right? A wish is a good thing, but it's just like pointing to the future. Like one day we're going to do that. You actually need a goal and even a plan that's going to actually ensure that you're moving in that direction. So, and a lot of times, and again, I'll show you a little framework that'll help with this. I don't want you just to write down wishes. I want you to write down goals. Number three, uh, I mentioned this earlier. We set them in January, and this, I talked about the system taking over. It's not that you forgot about them; it's that you didn't create a regular review cadence. And so, right, 39%. I shared this earlier. 39% say, "Hey, even if we have goals, we don't ever talk about them." And so, you're not going to be able to move towards something. You're not going to be able to accomplish something that you never even look at. And so setting them, this is like the old, this isn't the kitchen gadget appliance, right? That you can set it and forget it. We need to actually have a system that keeps these goals in front of us all the time so that we're talking about it, looking at it, it's actually moving the mission forward. And so we need to have a system where we regularly review these goals. That's a big reason that things don't happen. It's not that they were bad. It's not that they were unaccomplishable. It's not that we couldn't do it. It's just we forgot about them because it wasn't in front of us all the time. And then number 4, this is a huge one. I think this is the biggest one on the list, is that nobody owns them. We're church, we're the worst at this. I'm putting myself on the list. Um, we are we are great because we're a family, right? We're a team. We're all in this together. Like that's a great sentiment. But it absolutely does not work for goals because people have to own goals. We or a group of people can't own goals. So I want you to catch yourself, right? Or if you hear this, and we've had some of our churches saying, "Hey, we've started naming that." Like when somebody says we are going to, that should be key, right? Trigger, trigger, trigger. Who is we? We doesn't work here. There's no office that has we. There's no business card where there's we on it, right? No, I can do it. You can do it. You and I can do it, but we are not going to do it because when people hear we, everybody always assumes everybody else. And you think about that. If you get an email and it's addressed to 5 people, all in the subject line, right? 5 different people. It's like, hey, I need to think. Good chance you ignore it because you assume the other 4 people are gonna do it. Well, but guess what? They're assuming the same thing. So when you hear the word we, you should say who, right? We. Well, no, who is that? You? Is that me? Is that person? Is it person? Who? So a goal with no owner is just like decoration. It's like makes us feel better that we have a goal, but it's not going to be accomplished. So here's the reasons that goals fail. That's what we talked about. You got the wrong framework, probably built for business. They're unclear. Maybe they're written like wishes, not goals. Number 3, there was no review, no system set up to review. Good goals at the beginning, but we just didn't ever talk about it again. And then no ownership. These are 4 big reasons goals fail. This is probably some things that have things that have gone undone in your church. You could probably trace back to one of those things. This is a graphic that we talk about with our churches. Uh, churches on this on the well, I don't know if you're looking at this, it's on my left. Uh, the strategic planning, we say purpose and mission, right? The biggest circles on here. Most of the churches that we work with have those 2 things. They're pretty good. We can always refine, we can always make them better. But about, this like, why are you here? And what are you trying to do? Like when you ask those, there's some good answers to those. And I think we can always tighten them up. But churches, for the most part, are really good at that. And then if you go all the way to the right on the task side, I mean, we're all doing stuff. We're really busy. So there's a lot of tasks, right? So we've got a kind of purpose and mission kind of out here, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're doing. What's missing is the goals and the plans. So I have this graphic, right? If you have a really clear purpose and mission, like that's dialed in for your church, and you don't have goals, that's what we're talking about today, and plans. I got a different training on that. Goals and plans. If you don't have those 2 things, what happens is you take this big concept of your purpose and mission, it gets in this blender kind of a situation, and it just means the tasks just multiply because it's hard to know which tasks are connected to purpose and mission. It gets lost. So when we have clear goals and plans, we're going to talk about those being kind of 90-day buckets. It brings a lot of clarity to this situation. So we want to avoid this. We want to have this purpose, mission, goals, plans, tasks, right? Big to small. Makes the daily things that we do, the weekly work habits that we do, make sure it's all connected and it flows back up. If we're missing the goal piece that we're talking about, feels more like this, feels like chaos. You don't want chaos, right? You want the clean process. So let's talk about the framework that's going to keep you out of that chaos zone and help in ministry. And not OKRs and not the stuff that's made for boardrooms, but stuff that's going to help you in your church. So this is how we teach it. You can break this rule if you want, but I would start here and at least wrestle through this. I think that your church should have 3 annual goals. Why three? There's some science behind that. There's some psychology behind that. There's some common sense behind that. It's really hard to remember a lot more than that. You can have two, you can have four, but let's just say three. Imagine the clarity that would happen in your church if everybody that worked in your church that got a paycheck, that was on staff, that had an email address, everybody that worked in your church said, these are the three things that we're doing this year, and they knew what those goals were. Imagine what would happen. Imagine what the year would feel like if you were anchored in this way, that everybody's like, these are the three things that we're doing. And so in our system that will show, we call these organizational goals. These are your church-wide goals. These are your annual goals. This year, these are the three things that we're going to accomplish. And then what we do is we break that down to every body. And now every body gets three quarterly goals, 3 90-day goals. They reset every 90 days. And so every person on your team, imagine the clarity that they would have if they know, hey, as a team, as a church, these are the three most important things that we're doing. But then these are my three things. These are my three quarterly goals. So every goal at every level has an owner, right? There's no orphan goals. There's no goals in here that don't have a person's name next to them. Multiple people might be involved in accomplishing them, but there's one champion. There's one owner. So this system, three church-wide goals, three individual goals. Church-wide is annual, individual is quarterly, 90 days. This system is working for churches right now. It's simple enough to be managed. It's frequent enough to be adjusted, but it's a big enough anchor to ground the work, right? The stuff that you're doing in what is really important. So why three goals? Because it means you can focus, right? If you have one goal, you can focus on it. If you have three goals, you can focus on it. It doesn't mean that you're only doing three things, right? You're going to have Sunday, you're going to have vacation Bible school, you're going to have different things, but three goals, not 100. I had a pastor say that. Said when I was teaching this, I'm like, what's your takeaway? He said, three goals, not 100. And that, yeah, like the other stuff, it means there's maintenance happening, or it's not now. Not now is a really, really powerful answer when you're talking about things in church. It doesn't mean it's unimportant. It means it's not now, right? Goals by definition eliminate other things. It brings a focus. So three things are going to get your full focus. So here's the formula that you can use. This is what we teach of how to write a goal. And this has helped so much. I write all my goals this way. This will work for your personal goals too, but we'll use them in church here. From X to Y by when and why. So it rhymes, right? From X to Y by when and why. You can remember that. You don't even need to write that down. From X to Y by when and why. If you're writing an annual goal, write it like this: from X to Y by when and why. If you're writing a personal 90-day goal, from X to Y by when and why. All right. So let's break this down, right? From X, this is your starting point. So many times when we go to write goals, we don't know where we are right now. But imagine typing in on your phone, on your map, like when you want to go somewhere, it finds you first, finds your dot first, right? You need to know where you're going, but you got to know where you're starting from in order to have a good line, in order to draw a map. The directions aren't going to work if it doesn't know where you are. You find yourself first. So if you're talking about finding more small group leaders, how many small group leaders do you have? You're talking about better guest follow-up. How many guests do you have? You're talking about creating a discipleship process. What is the current process? Right? There's always a starting point. So from X, that's your starting point. To Y, this is the number. This is the destination. This is where you're going to. This is not a generic word like improve, because you don't know if you've improved it or not. So it's a very measurable destination. That's the Y, from X to Y. And then by when? You're going to give it a deadline. Now this one's easy because if it's an annual goal, you got the end of the year. If it's a quarterly goal, you got the end of the quarter. So that one's easy. But the why piece, to me, for church, this is the difference maker in church. This is the actual opportunity to get everybody on the same page, aligned around why this goal matters. Right? If we're only having three, why did we pick this one? If half the people don't agree that this should be a goal, we've got a problem. Because the why here, it really matters. It keeps the mission grounded. It keeps the activities connected to the mission. So every time you go to write a goal, no matter what it is, this formula, this works about 95% of the time. There's some times where it doesn't quite work, but 95% of the time, you could write a goal like this: from X to Y by when and why. and make sure every one of the you're not wasting words. You can write it clearly. You can write it concise. I'll give you some examples in a minute. But this becomes an easy way to remember the goals. You remember the formula, and then you can remember the goals that go underneath them. One of my favorite verses. I've told this story for years, but one of my favorite verses from the Old Testament is. I mean, it's an odd favorite verse. Right there's a lot of verses in there that are way more inspirational than this one. But I'm a nerd and I gravitated to this one. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision. Right. Hey, I got to the prophet, right? God to the prophet. I've got something. I want you to write it down. Write the vision. Make it plain on the tables, right? On the tablets. Write it down on the tablets of stone so that he may run who reads it. Somebody's going to literally run around and read my message from town to town, from person to person, from family to family. I don't want them making up stuff. I don't want you making up stuff. I think the Lord said that, no, write it down so you can go with it. And so I've adopted this. I mean, I was literally reading a book up here. I just moved it over there about it's called the second creating a second brain, and it was literally about writing stuff down. I remember reading Getting Things Done from David Allen like 20 years ago, and he was like, the brain is great for thinking about things, but it's terrible for holding things. And the older I get, the more forgetful I am, right? So we're not going to try to just remember it. We're not just going to try to like make up words to articulate our goal. No, we're going to write it down, and we're going to write it down from X to Y by when and why. That way, everybody can read it. Everybody can look at it. Everybody can get on the same page about it. That's Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. So, what could this look like in a church? Well, here's some goals. Here's some goals written down this way. And so here's one from a volunteer director. I mean, it could be a lot of roles have this. Okay, we want to go from 85 volunteers, active volunteers, to 120 by June 30th because we can't sustain our ministry load without expanding the volunteer base. That's a really good why. Like, hey, we're in trouble. Like, we can't sustain this if we don't expand our volunteer base. That's really good. You see, there's from 85 to 120. That's the why. You got June 30th. That's the when, and then you got a really good why. It's a really good goal. Here's another one. From 3 months of financial goal, from 3 months of operating revenue to 6 months of operating revenue by the end of the year by December 31st. Why? Because financial stability lets us make mission-driven decisions, not reactive ones. What an incredible why that is, right? We want to make decisions based on mission. We want to make decisions based on ministry, not just react to a bad offering, right? We can make a bad decision if we have to react. We can make a prayerful, thoughtful, intelligent decision if we can make mission-driven decisions. So that's a good goal for finances. So you see, these most of the goals that we have in church, whether they're annual or 90-day, we can write them like this from X to Y by when and why. These goals are about where we're going. These goals are really important. Here's some reasons goals go wrong. Like when you're writing that, here's again, we all do this, what we tend to do. A lot of times if you go to your team and say, "Hey, write some goals for me," what they might give you back is some tasks. Tasks are not goals. Tasks flow from goals, but tasks are not goals. So a lot of times we will write activities down instead of outcomes, right? So I'm going to launch a sermon series on Sunday on the fruit of the spirit. That's not a goal. That's just that's just the thing that you're going to do. That's just a task that you're going to do. Language that you can't measure, right? We're going to strengthen our culture. We're going to improve the discipleship temperature. We're going to increase the stewardship culture, right? These are not measurable things. They're good ideas. Let's push harder and make them measurable. Another common thing is we assign a goal to a group of people. Okay. And again, here you can see the worship team can't own a goal. Somebody on the worship committee can't own a goal. The chairperson of the committee could own a goal. The committee might be involved in the goal, but every goal needs a name. And inside the Align tool, you assign every goal to a person. Doesn't mean they're the only one working on it, but it means they're responsible for it. And then no real deadline. Don't put things on there that don't have real deadline. That's going to make goals go wrong. So when you write them from X to Y, by when and why, be on the lookout for some of these areas. Inside Align, we built the formula right in there. So when you log into the tool, it almost forces every goal to be written that way. You can break it. There's AI in there to help you draft some goals. If you get stuck, you can click a little button. It'll give you some AI suggestions as well. And then the second thing is then you can review them every week. So in this system that I'm teaching you, right? So you're going to clarify them. You're going to write them correctly. So that's what we teach. Every church should have 3 clear goals. Every person should have 3 clear goals. That's the formula. And then reviewed every week. We talk about that. How do you keep these goals in front of you? Well, you look at them every week. Well, every week, how are we going to do that? That's a lot of meetings. No, it's no meetings. So we've created the framework so that you could literally have no new meetings to keep goals in front of you. How does this work? It takes 60 seconds to do a check-in. I'll show it to you in at the end. You just log in, you do a check-in. Your goals are there, a couple questions are there. If you're responsible for any numbers, those are there. Literally it takes 60 seconds to just do the check-in. And that populates the whole system and everybody can see what's going on. So you can review these goals. If you have a team meeting, when you have a team meeting, start your team meeting with the goals. Literally, just go around the room, say everybody say what their goal is, and if it's on track, at risk, or off track, right? You can see right here, we have on track, we have caution, we have off track, right? And just say what they are. Everybody's sharing where they're at. This isn't top secret information. This creates what I call ambient accountability. You're not putting surveillance on people. You're just saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing. We're all going to win or lose or tie together if it's soccer, right? Let's just put this in the open. Let's just put this in the open. So review it every week and then visible to everyone. That's what I've been talking about. When goals are visible, people see how what we're doing connects to what we're doing. Transparency creates accountability. It's not surveillance. It's not confronting people. It's literally just built in to make it normal to say, if my goal's off track, it's not a secret. It's not, I shouldn't try to hide it. It's just known that it's off track. And guess what? Now people can help. Now people can know. So we can talk more about that later, but that's a key thing. So let's talk about making this stick, this system. You can run this system right now. You can write your goals from X to Y by when and Y. You can keep it visible. You can start your staff meeting with the goals. You could do all of that right now. But we've made a system that you can run in a software tool that's so easy to use. It takes 60 seconds, right? You could do this DIY. You could create a Google spreadsheet. You could create a shared doc. You could get a whiteboard. And listen, some teams do that and it works fine. What tends to happen though is that degrades over time. Like that Google document gets lost. It goes further down the list, and then we can't find it, and then we're looking for it come July. But what happens a lot of times is like people don't update the spreadsheet. Nobody really compiled all the information. It just slips by. So we wanted to create a system to keep these goals in front of people, so that they could be reviewed every week. So here's how Lineify works, like the system, and I'm going to log in and show you from a church account. You set all the goals, you write them down. Okay. Then everybody comes in, they check in weekly. It takes 60 seconds. Everybody does it. From the leader, everybody does it. Everybody's on the same playing field. If you're gonna have a meeting with your goals, you walk in, the check-in's already done. Everybody already knows where everything happens, and then you can see everything all in one place. Goals, issues, plans, scorecard, all those things, it's all in one place, and it makes it easy. It is the rhythm, right? It works with your team. Your team meets every week, it works. If you meet once a month, it works. It's a system purpose-built for how churches work. So you don't have to add a bunch of more work to somebody. These aren't complicated reports. It's simple. So let me show you a demo. I'm actually going to share my screen and let me just pull this up and just share my screen real fast. I'll stop this slideshow and I'm just going to go to alignify.com and I'm going to log into a demo account. Okay. Let me just do that for you right here. So I'm logging into I'm at alignify.com and here you can read about all the tool and see how it works and you can watch a demo and do all this stuff, but I'm just going to log in. Okay, so I'm going to log in here to alignify.com and I've gone to a church account and this is Pastor John Harrington. He is the pastor of Brooklyn Church and this is a demo account. And you can see when you log in, you start on the me page and everything on here is connected to John. So if you were Sally, it'd say Sally and it'd be all your stuff. So here I just see my stuff. I see my job description. I see my most important number that I'm responsible for, but I see my goals. I've got my annual goals and I've got my Q3 2026 goals. And right from here, I can see their status. I can see if they're on track or off track or caution, right? I can adjust their status right here. I can click this to see the plan for how I'm supposed to be accomplishing this goal. I see the scorecard numbers that I'm responsible for. I can change these right here. I see the meetings that I'm in. Now, as the manager, I'm going to click on the home page, and now I see this dashboard. And as a leader, I love this, right? So let's say I come to the office on Monday. I come in and boom, I log in here and I go, all right, well, here's where all our goals are. We got 24, we got 3 at risk, we got 3 off track. the little timer for the quarter here, and I can click into these and see where things are immediately. And then over here on annual goals, same thing. I can see where we're at just quickly at a glance, and I can click in to drill in to any of them. And then I see everybody's latest updates. So all my team members, right here, I see Emily and Naomi and Aaron. There's my own Caleb. I see the last update that they did with what their goals are and their status and a couple questions that they answered. I see their check-in. So talk about the check-in. I said this takes 60 seconds. Let's do one right now. So if I go up here to check-in, everybody does this once a week. Takes 60 seconds. You can see it's listing my goals that are already in here. I can change their status. I can leave a comment if I want. This is how the information stays current inside of Lineify. And then I'm assigned to two numbers that I'm supposed to report on, and I can report on them right here. I can report on them right here. And then there are two questions that I can answer. What did I accomplish last week? And what's on my radar for this week? Sometimes people write a lot here. Sometimes people write a little. This is not meant to be like a comprehensive task list. This is meant to just be a very open-ended question about what's going on. Some people write personal updates here. And it's just what's happening. It's what happened last week, what's happening this week. And then I hit submit. And there's my all my past ones that I've done. And that flows up here to this dashboard so you can see what everybody is up to. And by default, you can change the settings, but by default, all of this is visible to everybody. And that's on purpose. Now I can click in here to goals and see all the goals. I can read all the goals. I can see all the details. I can click on this plan icon. It's red because we haven't added any plans. But once you add a plan to accomplish a goal, it turns green. Now we've got a plan to do it. Here's the meetings tab. I love the meetings tab. You can here we've set up a staff meeting. We've got group meetings and we've got one-on-one meetings. And look at this. In fact, let's make a new meeting real quick. Let's make a new staff meeting. Staff meeting to important meeting. Let me add some people to it. And here's the thing, let's say this is my staff meeting. All right, what do I want to do in this staff meeting? Well, I want to look at the scorecard. I want to look at our annual goals, and I build the agenda block by block. I mean, I can have a custom item, 100th anniversary service, some custom items, and that's in my meeting. I've created a meeting. Here's my new staff meeting two. So when I go to run the meeting, hey everyone, it's time for staff meeting. I come in here, I hit start, and look, everything I need, I got 5 minutes left for this because I assigned it 5 minutes. But this scorecard, boom, it's all right here. It's pulling it from other places in the app. So I don't have to leave this page for my staff meeting, get distracted by going into Planning Center or looking up that Google Doc. I just stay right here. And all the things that I've added are right here. Here's those organizational goals that we set. If I added quarterly goals, they're right here, right? For the people that are in the meeting. If I added the custom topic, it's right here. I could take notes. We're adding all kinds of integrations to this, all kinds of AI things getting added. Like almost every week, something's getting added to this. But that's how meetings run here in Align. When the meeting's over, I just end it. I can rate it. Man, that was a great meeting. Let me submit that rating. And so now I can see, is our team engaged? Are we talking about goals? And what I love is this forces us in the agenda to put the goals at the top of the agenda. That's my number one hack for church meetings. Just talk about your goals. Talk about your goals. There's all kinds of other things I can do in here. There's a scorecard where I can enter in all the information that's important to our church. I have an issue list that we could track just stuff that's happening. I say issues or opportunities, right? Negative things or positive. Put them here. Now there's a place for everything. There's all kinds of settings I can do. There's integrations. I can actually manage all this through ChatGPT or Claude by using the MCP connection. It's built in. So you could actually do your check-in without ever even logging in. Your team could forget their login and just manage it through, update it through ChatGPT. There's all kinds of things that you can do in here, but it keeps goals front and center. And that's what's really important. That's what's really important in Align.fi. This is not trying to be like complicated HR software. It's just trying to be a place where you can keep track of your goals, your meetings, issues, your scorecard, like the things that are like the stuff that you're working on. It can live here. It has a home. So when we think about that, right? We think about how Align.fi works. So I gotta go back to these slides now. It helps you see what's going on in your church because it's focused. and you start it. You load it up because these are the goals that God's put on your heart. These are the things that are unique to your church. And so when you think about this, if it would help, this is how Lineify works. When we created this tool, we said we didn't want to do per seat licenses. I used to have, when I was pastoring, even now leading team, I'm always looking at how many people have a license to this and do they need it? Do they want it? I don't want you to have to worry about that. So we priced it at $99 a month. You can add all the staff you want. You can, if you have 20 staff, you add 20 staff. We have churches that have added lots and lots of staff, more staff. 4 or 5 people, that's fine, no problem. You can create teams, create a team for your worship team, your kids ministry team. You can create teams in there. We've had churches add their elders, their deacons, stakeholders, part-time staff, volunteer staff, anybody that's responsible for a goal. You can add them in there. You can control all the permissions and do all the settings that way. But it, but it's an easy way to manage stuff. The other thing that we're doing right now is we will concierge onboard setup with you. So once you get signed up, you can add some things. You can just book a call when you log in. You can book a call, and we will walk you through how to get it set up. If you need help setting goals, we will help you set your first goals. If you need help getting your team to set their quarterly goals, we will help do that because we want you to use this tool. So to sign up, you just go to alignify.com/church, and you can see all the information that's there. You can sign up for it. There's no contract. There's no per seat fees. It's just one monthly price for your whole church. You can do an annual one if you want. That save you like basically you get 2 months for free, but it will help you keep track of your goals. And that's really what we want you to do. We want to help you say, hey, what is what are we doing to articulate that, to put it in a place where it can be clear, 3 clear goals, reviewed every week, and visible to everyone. And we think if you can do those things, right, that's what's unique to your church. If you can lift that up and make that front and center, good things will happen. So thanks so much for watching this. I know this was a huge time investment. You made it all the way till the end. We love to serve you inside of Lineify. We are working very hard, not just to make this just a software tool, but to make this a community of pastors who care about accomplishing things for the kingdom. So you'll find a ton of resources. You'll find a ton of help. Our team will reach out and work with you any way that we can to help you accomplish what God's called you to do in your church. Thanks for watching, and God bless.